what I've got so far is I've got it kind of loosely laid in here, and the way I did it is I kind of figured out how much cable I had to play with and where I'd put it. Now you could possibly put it up here, but I think the best spot for it is right here on this Velcro pad that the factory put in. And what I'm going to do is just cut this tab and these few tabs off with a real sharp X-Acto knife, and it'll live back here. I've got my power cable over here to the battery side, and that's it. It just goes right underneath here and comes out here. And now I've got extra stuff in here. This braided thing here runs all the way to the front of my bike, and that's just for stuff that I've put in. And all the other stuff is coming out this side, underneath here, out along the top of the air box, and then over top of this little bit of the airbox system, and it goes underneath here, under this little loop, comes out next to the throttle body. Then we've got the oxygen sensor connector, and that's just going to loop up here and down. I don't have that installed yet. That'll be another episode. And then I've got the fuel injector connector, and then I've got the gauge cable, which is just kind of laying in here loose, and I'm going to zip tie that up, go inside between the fork and the frame up to the dashboard, which I will install this gauge on somehow at some time, but for right now it's just going to kind of hang out up there because I don't have that figured out yet. If you don't have a Lynx fairing, which I've got a review video for it if you wondered more about it, they do sell handlebar mounts, and lots of people make handlebar mounts for gauges, and this is just a standard size gauge, so you could bar mount it if you don't have a windshield or dashboard. Another tool that works really well for taking these tabs off is an 18-tooth Sawzall blade. Now notice it's not in a Sawzall, I'm just using my hand, so I can very carefully angle it to get all of the tab off and not take the entire fender out. So that's all cleared out. This will lay in there nice and neat, and it doesn't look too bad. I mean, it doesn't look like I took a Sawzall to it, but it's close, but it worked. So I'll probably sand it down a little bit, take the sharp edges off, and then we can start looming these wires up. This is where the controller is going to live. You can see a little bit. I put the fluffy side of the Velcro on there in addition to the factory stuff. Oops, that pulled the adhesive right off. Okay, well, anyway, that's where it's going to live. I might need better Velcro, but that's where it's going to live. And then we'll go ahead and do all of this side first, and then the last thing we'll hook up is the power, just because that's how I do things personally all the time. So spots along here you got to watch for, I believe here, and I know right here the seat contacts this, and then obviously it hooks in here. But those are some spots that you'll want to avoid putting wires or zip ties, you know, in here too, because the seat hook's there. So we'll go ahead and put some zip ties on and show you what it looks like when it's cleaned up. We've got that all nice and tight in there. That's probably way more zip ties than you need. One here, one here. I replaced the factory one that holds the reservoir overflow hose. And then now we're going to go to our fuel injector right here. It's the thing the big hose is attached to. And on the back side here, right at the top, there's a little tab. Squeeze that, pull that off. Then we can plug in our harness connector there. And then this one goes into our factory connector, which is really hard to do with one hand. So those two go together with movie editing magic. There it is. So we've got that connected. I'm probably going to have to change that zip tie because I got it way too tight. But then the oxygen sensor, obviously it plugs in to this. It's got a cam lock system on it, so you push them together and then snap that in place. So now we need to put this in here. We also need to hook up to our battery, which is pretty self-explanatory. I've zip tied that a little differently. I've got the fuel injector harness coming off of it. I got it zip tied together right here. Oxygen sensor and gauge go up. This loops around and is zip tied to the throttle and clutch cable, which does not move. We've got that plugged in. That's for the fuel tank, never mind that. So now we're going to do the battery. Now you'll notice I've already got terminals on my battery, so I might do this differently in the future, but if you don't have a bunch of accessories on your bike, it'll be easier. There's just a couple Phillips screws. Actually, they're probably JIS, Japanese Industrial Standard screws, but we're just going to use a Phillips. It works. And take these off. Obviously, red to red, black to ground. That simple. So with that zip tied up, we've got the controller in and secured. We've got power to it. We've got our lines run to the fuel injector, and we've got our line run for the oxygen sensor, and we've got our line run up here to the gauge, which you can mount however you want. I'm going to be mounting it in my dashboard. You might want to get some kind of handlebar mount for it. So in the next episode, what I'm going to do is show you how to install the oxygen sensor into your exhaust pipe. Make sure you're subscribed and we'll get this project finished together.